Hey guys, I'm going to take the mystery out of trumpet auditions. Stay tuned. Hey guys, today I want to talk about trumpet auditions. I know there's a lot of information out there already about trumpet auditions. So I just want to give you my take on this, and as you guys know, I'm very nerdy, so I've put together all my electronics to try to take you through my thoughts about the audition process and give you like a nice presentation that you can refer back to. First of all, trumpet auditions can be as difficult or as easy as you want them to be. It's up to you, okay? There's a lot of courses out there. There's a lot of people doing workshops and stuff on how to win auditions. To me, I prefer to keep it simple. You're just trying to show great musicianship to a group of people to see if they want to work with you or not. It's no more complicated than that. So I'm going to try to walk you through my thoughts about the audition process, okay? First of all, you have to be comfortable with the process. I mean, this is how we get work, okay? And the way that I think about it is it's a recital of very odd repertoire, okay? You're not playing like sonatas and concertos. You're playing excerpts of great symphonic works completely out of context. So these are the hoops that you have to jump through. So as we play this material, we have to really put ourselves inside the orchestra when we do it in an audition situation, because that's what the committee is hearing when they listen to you play. They're hearing how it's lining up with everything else in the orchestra. So there's a certain way that the excerpts need to be played in order to be generically acceptable. You're not going to have an audition committee panel of, trumpet players. It's going to be the concertmaster, the principal winds. It's not just trumpet players, so you got to satisfy everybody. So the way that we perform the excerpts has to be down the middle of the fairway, I like to say. We're not going to tee off with a driver with the excerpts. We're going to hit a 3-iron or a 5-iron off the tee, and we're going to put that thing right in the middle of the fairway so nobody can say they didn't like it. So the first thing is preparation and countdown for your audition. When the ad comes out in the paper and you see the ad in the paper, you decide you're going to apply, this is when the preparation, the countdown begins. This is when we reply to the ad with the CV. They write back and say you can come, or you need to make a tape, or this or that, right? And then you start compiling all the excerpts, unless the orchestra is nice enough to provide those for you, which is rare, okay? So you're starting to get all your materials together. You'll make a binder of all these excerpts in a very organized way. You're gonna look at it like you're working in an office, okay? You're compiling documents. These are the documents that you're gonna need for your journey to this audition, okay? You have to play a solo concerto or a sonata or something, right? So the solo concerto or the solo sonata is really your time to separate yourself from the pack, okay? Really, I mean, I do this. I intentionally do this. I try to, especially if it's a Haydn trumpet concerto, I know how most people play it, so I try to play it differently, and my thing is I like to try to showcase, the more feminine side of the trumpet, the more vocal side rather than the fanfare, John Williams side. And that's the hard thing to do. I was lucky I had a teacher, Rolf Smedvig, and he was like my idol for a long time, and he had like this really special femininity, and he was not a feminine guy, don't get me wrong, but he made the trumpet sing and dance in a way that I'd never heard since or before. So that was like the thing that I always think about when I play, is how can I make this sound different than most trumpet players. So in the solo piece, try to showcase whatever that thing is that you feel that is your strength and you're better at than anyone else. So you got to know your strengths and weaknesses when you're preparing for an audition, right? So if you have already played Petrushka and practiced it, 3,000 hours, but, there's some, other thing on the list that you're not familiar with, then you're going to spend more time on that, right? Or if you have like me, I have a slow single tongue. So if there's some kind of Alvarado di Gracioso, or you got, some Ravel thing that requires a lot of single tongue, then you have to spend more time working that up, period. If that's your weakness, that's what you really try to bring up to the level of your other stuff. You got to be recording yourself constantly. Not sometimes, all the time. Every time you play, you got to use tech to your advantage, right? We can use tech to help you compare your sound to the sound of the greats, Phil Smith, Tom Hoot and all these guys, Chris Martin, Adolf Herseth, you can use technology, use the computer to take the wave files of you playing something and put them right next to one of your favorite players and analyze it, go deep, see how you compare, right? Because that's what everyone else is hearing. That's what they want to hear when you go into audition, right? So you got to record yourself. There's no other way to know how it sounds on the other side of the bell as a trumpet player. You've got to have a high quality digital recorder. You got to record yourself relentlessly. And then you have to review those recordings harshly, detailed, you have to be your worst critic. Fundamentals first, we want on the list. We want to develop the fundamentals of the list. Okay, we want to play number one with a gorgeous, resonant, beautiful, inspiring, wow sound. Glorious, think of these kinds of adjectives: resonant, ringing, effortless. These are the words that we want people to associate with our sound, because our sound is our business card, okay? This is what's for sale. Sound is what's for sale. You can have all the technique in the world. If you get a bad sound, no one's ever going to pay to hear it, period. It's well known, okay? So if you don't have a sound concept, you're going to want to get one quickly. It's a hard thing to teach, a sound concept. We develop sound concept from listening to other people. So sound is number one, always, even in your practice, all the time, sound's number one. Okay, the committee's listening for great intonation. You got to play in tune with your own scale, period. You're not going to play like as a piano, but the key to demonstrating good intonation is not only playing in tune, but when you play out of tune, to be able to adjust quickly, They'll notice that. So it's not like you're going to go in and be a machine and play perfectly in tune all the time, but you got to show that you know when you're out of tune. Okay? The next thing is rhythm. You got to demonstrate great rhythm. And, there's excerpts that are specifically designed to see if you can demonstrate great rhythm. Schumann too. Can you subdivide? Can you hold the long notes the right value? Things like that. Make sure that you're able to deliver the fundamentals that every audition committee is looking for right off the bat. Put the musicianship last. Make sure that you can deliver the fundamentals, the great sound, the great intonation, and the great rhythm, okay? You can be a great musician after you get all that together. Okay, so the next thing is going to be very kind of controversial, right? But this is how I have played auditions my whole life. I've taken about 37 auditions. I've won 8 of them, okay? Just so you know, I am talking from experience. Memorize it. You don't look at a owner's manual for your shoes when you're tying them in the morning to remember how to tie them. You don't need a map to look at, while you're driving to work. You have to memorize this stuff. You have to know it. And the only way you can demonstrate knowing it is having it here, okay? If you can do this, and I know that memorizing is harder for some people than others, right? But if you can force yourself to memorize music, you will give yourself an unbelievable advantage in an audition situation. Because everybody else is looking at the music. So, they have X amount of their resources tied up in just reading the notes, okay? If you have it from memory, if you just know it, then you can put all of your resources into making the best music possible, right? I mean, this is an amazing advantage, honestly. When you go to the audition and the orchestra provides their own parts, do take a quick look at their part to make sure that there's not something different about it than what you've prepared before you execute the excerpt. You want to make sure that you're gonna perform what's actually written in their part. Play from memory. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. You'll have an unfair advantage over everybody else. You got to change up the order of the excerpts. I used to use a coffee can. I would write all the names of the excerpts down on pieces of paper and put them in a coffee can, and I'd mix them all up, and then I would just reach in the can, pull out one piece of paper, put it on the music stand, and play that excerpt. And then I grab the next piece of paper, put it on the stand, play that excerpt from memory while recording it. I would do this over and over, maybe 1, 2, 3 times a day, depending on where I was in my countdown, which we'll get to the countdown part. Change up the order of the excerpts constantly. Also put the piccolo excerpt in different places, because you don't know what order they're going to call this stuff in. You don't know what you're going to have to do in the audition. So better to prepare and be able to flip-flop between instruments and styles and all that stuff as much as possible. If you feel like, out of the whole list, you got a great Mahler 5, then maybe you can really go for that one. You know what I mean? Like, because in the audition, I mean, we're going for stuff musically, but we're not necessarily playing at the volume and the intensity like we would in the orchestra, right? We're toning it down just a little bit, right? But if you really want to take one excerpt to task, if you think you've got this excerpt is the strongest of all of them, then you can kind of bring that one excerpt out in the audition round. Pick one excerpt that will showcase something that you do really well. And don't overdo it. Don't overdo it, okay? So the next thing we got is change up your conditions. Change up your practice conditions. Get used to playing with distractions. I'm a big fan of waking up in the middle of the night and just playing through the list cold without warming up. I like to change up conditions. I like to do push-ups and go up and down stairs, jumping jacks, and then play Parsifal Prelude and do kind of crazy stuff, and create conditions that would be far worse than anything I would ever experience on the audition day. Playing for others. I don't know about this, okay? I don't do this, unless it's somebody I really respect, but then again, I don't do this, okay? I'm my own worst critic. I feel like, I know what I want to sound like. I know who I want to sound like. So, if I can do my own analysis, I can do my own troubleshooting, how to get there with my recordings and my analysis of myself versus other people. And I think that playing for other people can be dangerous if you don't, especially if you don't have the highest respect for them also. They could offer opinions that could throw you out. They could say something that's going to break your confidence and all that. You're kind of opening yourself up to a can of worms. Again, if you're at this point where you're taking orchestra auditions, you should have a grip on how this stuff goes and what it needs to sound like. So get a good recorder, do your own study, do your own analysis, and if it's just playing in front of people, just play the list down for your family or something. Don't involve another musician. That's my opinion, okay? You might disagree. Okay, so the next thing we have is the countdown. The countdown begins. It starts by identifying and journaling the circumstances surrounding your best playing days. Okay? So you got to identify trends. Hey, my chops feel great today. Like, how much sleep did I get last night? How much water have I been drinking? Kind of like, not make a mental note of it, like write it down. Like, start to pay attention to your circumstances surrounding good chop days. right? There's no way you're going to remember it the way it needs to be remembered. You got to write it down. So this is the research part of your countdown. Ideally, you want to be keeping track of this stuff when you're not taking auditions. But for auditions, this stuff has been very important to me, and I want to share it with you. So we identify trends. For me, it's the following: life circumstances, hydration, sleep, when I shave, okay? What I've been eating, when I ate, how long I'm awake before I play the trumpet, okay? This is a big one. You have to distill down the variables and start to find, the common denominators of what gives you a really good chop day. And then you're going to formulate your own version of that, right? It's going to be different for everybody. I know for me, when I was taking auditions in the States, and I have to check into the audition at 8 in the morning, and I knew I could draw number one, that's always a possibility, and they start at 9, then I would do stuff like get up at 3 in the morning. I'd go to bed at 7, get up at 3. And then when I go to play at that hour, it feels like the middle of the day to me. And everyone else is, groggy and, trying to get coffee and all that stuff. What you're eating, what you're eating is really important. There's different kinds of foods that give you different results, like feeling-wise, There's certain foods you can eat that make you feel relaxed. Like for me, it's dark chocolate. Before concerts, I like to eat dark chocolate and chamomile tea. Some people eat bananas. I've also heard that calms people down. These things matter, and if you want to try to stack the deck in your favor and win, you got to do it all. You got to pay attention to it all. You got to try to formulate your own winning strategy for a good chop day. The next one is you got to be divorced from the outcome. When you go to an audition, you cannot be thinking about the outcome, please. You don't need that, okay? Remain divorced from the outcome and prioritize the educational value of this process, of the audition process, of all this money and time you're spending to prepare for this audition that, the odds are you're not going to win, right? Let's face it, right? So we have to have something else to look forward to, and that's the educational value of taking the audition. You will learn a lot. There's things that you will learn about yourself when you're playing that will never reveal themselves in any other playing situation except for an audition. Divorce yourself from the outcome and focus on the fact that you're even able to go take an audition and that you're looking at the prospect of having a career in music. These are things to be happy and excited about. You don't need to be thinking about the outcomes. You don't need to be looking in the newspaper at rents and I'm going to buy this car and all this stuff. This is really stupid, and I see people do this sometimes, and they don't get through the first round. So don't do that. Okay, so the next one is rest and hydration. So as the countdown gets closer to the audition day, right, we want to kind of really start to focus on rest and hydration. I keep saying hydration because, we play the instrument with our mouth, and our mouth needs to be like wet when we play. And if you're dehydrated, the first thing to go is your mouth, right? And your focus. So you got to drink a lot of water. I'm really bad at drinking water, and I have to force myself to do it, but it works. And whenever I drink more water, I always feel better, and then I get lazy and stop doing it. So please drink water and get rest. And as you get closer to your audition, then you're going to start to dial back on how much of your practice time you're spending on excerpts versus, fundamentals, arbin. Okay, so you're gonna change the ratio now back to the majority of your practice is going to be back to fundamentals, kind of honing in on the fundamentals that are incorporated in the excerpts that you're least good at. Really kind of dialing those in. And now we get to the audition day. So the first thing I can tell you is plan, okay? Plan to leave yourself a lot of extra time. Plan to leave yourself so much extra time that you're not going to be in a hurry to do anything. You're gonna fly early. You're gonna get everywhere early. You're gonna check in to the hotel early. You're gonna go to bed early. You're gonna leave yourself tons of time, so you're relaxed. You're not like obsessing about, oh my God, how am I gonna get here and there? You're not gonna do that. Okay. The next one is very important on the audition day. Please trust me on this one. Do not socialize, okay, until after the audition. Do not check into the audition and see a bunch of people in the hospitality room and, hey, what's going on? Like all this stuff. And like, you know, there's nothing worse than a room full of trumpet players, honestly. Like, you know, on an audition day, it's like a tank full of like piranhas, you know. And it doesn't matter how good friends you are. They're all ready to like, you know, take a job from you. Don't socialize, okay? They're not your friends, okay? They're your competition at that point. Business is business, right? So I don't care how much you like these people, stay away from them. You're there on a business trip, okay? You're on a business trip right now. Do not play anything from the audition round on the day of the audition until you're in the audition. Because if you don't know it by the day of the audition, it's not going to improve it by you practicing it on the day of the audition. Don't do it. Resist that temptation. I know it's really hard. I know it's really hard. But we've all been to auditions before where we hear the guy in the room next to us trying to play the slur up to the A in Petrushka or Ravel Piano Concerto or something and not getting it, like not hitting it. And hearing that kind of stuff before you go to play is bad enough, but doing it is 10 times worse. Okay, so you get into your room. I do meditation, okay? In my other videos, I talk about how I meditate, and I center myself. I think about my breathing. I don't light incense and turn into a pineapple and sit like Indian style somewhere, okay? Meditation is being present. It's bringing yourself home to your body, okay? That's what it is. It's bringing yourself home to your body. In today's society, you know, we spend all day kind of forgetting that we even have a body. We're like a face walking through the universe, right? It's like we don't even acknowledge that we have a body, right? And we need to be in touch with our body to play the trumpet and to be in touch with where we are in the present, right? So meditation is a valuable thing. I'm not going to talk about it so much. I get value from it. Many people get value from it. I suggest trying it before you decide if you want to do it or not. And I kind of immerse myself in positivity, you know. I try to stay in the present, and I try to think only about positive things, how lucky I am, I got my health. After I won my first audition, I would go to auditions for other jobs, and I would be grateful that I already had a job, you know. I wouldn't be, that would take a lot of stress off, you know, especially if you've already got your first job. If you go to an audition, you don't win, you still got a job. I mean, that's amazing by itself, right? So it's getting the first job that, you know, that's, you know, a little bit of a mind game, right? So stay present, try to meditate, try to be positive, okay? The other thing about the staying present stuff, and I have to say this, when we're anxious or nervous, right? When we get that fight or flight feeling, or we feel nervous, we feel that time is elapsing faster than it actually is, okay? And this causes a lot of problems. It causes problems with rhythm and the performance of excerpts and music, okay? Usually the long notes getting shortened because you're sitting on a long note and your heart's racing, you think you've already held it long enough, you leave that note and you just cut the note short. And the other thing is between excerpts. If your perception of time is running faster than time actually is running, then you're going to feel rushed to start the next excerpt, and you're going to start it before you're ready to. And that's really dangerous. The committee will wait to hear something amazing, okay? And what you think is like 2 minutes is like 5 seconds between excerpts. So between excerpts, really try to like stay present and like understand that time is not going as fast as you think it is, and that you have time to shake off that last excerpt and or celebrate it. You can, you know, come to terms with that previous excerpt and then get yourself ready to play the next excerpt and start when you're ready. So next we have, some people like to play a few notes before an audition round, okay? This is dangerous. This is dangerous because if you're gonna play a few notes, it's gonna count, okay? And if it sounds like shit, it's gonna hurt you. I'm sorry. Like if you have to play a few notes before your audition round, then make them amazing notes, okay? Again, we're at the point we're taking auditions, we should be adaptable. We should be able to play in a space. You know, playing a few notes in the room, I don't think is really gonna help anyways, honestly. Be careful playing a few notes. Be careful. And then finally, don't try to play better than you are in an audition. Okay, you've done all this preparation, you've done all this sacrifice. Just go in there and play the way that you play. Don't go in and try to play better than you are. I mean, don't be in a competition with yourself, right? Just go in and do what you prepared to do. Okay, so now we're at the audition. We have screen rounds, we have unscreened rounds. I really enjoy playing for the screen, honestly. I like the challenge of pulling the committee through that screen. That's what I think about in the audition, is trying to draw them through the screen. You know the cartoons that they used to have where, like, you know, one character would be cooking something, and then the other character would like smell it, and then he would start levitating and floating towards the food. Like, that's what I think about in the audition. Like, I want to play so deliciously behind that screen that the committee will like start to come towards me, you know. This is what I think about. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of a funny analogy, okay? If you're playing your round and then you tank on something, you know, and you want to do it again, you got to do it amazing the next time. You can't do it the same or worse. It's got to be amazing. Okay, so my advice is, if you just chip a note or something, like, the committee can forgive that kind of stuff, especially if the rest of your round's really solid. If you tank on something, then of course you can ask to do it again, but make sure you're ready to kill it. Make sure that you're ready to really nail it. So when you get to the no screen round, you know, it's going to be different than playing for the screen, because you're going to see people and, you know, it will be different. But the committee will likely want to interact with you at that point, right? They're going to give you feedback. They're going to see if you can be flexible, do something differently. There may be way more people in the hall than you know, is on the committee. There might, you know, a lot of people in the orchestra might be interested to come and watch also. So be prepared for that, right? If the maestro's there, he wants to interact with you and get you to do things and see how flexible you can be. Be ready for that, right? You might need to play with the section. Be ready for that, you know, be flexible. Don't do weird shit. Don't do weird shit, okay? First of all, dress, okay? Dress code for auditions is like smart casual, okay? You don't have to wear a three-piece suit. You also don't want to walk in shorts and a wife beater, right? Okay? You don't want to wear a shirt that says "I hate cats" or something, right? So stay away from that. Just dress smart casual. No excessive movement, okay? No distracting movement, okay? Violins and cellos and basses, you know, they're physical instruments. You got to move a lot to play them. If you watch the greatest trumpet players in the world, they don't move when they play. I mean, Sergei Nakarikov, all these guys out there, Winton, Al Vizzuti, you know, all these great trumpet players out there, they don't move when they play. So there's no reason to be swaying all over the place and, you know, to be a great musician. You don't have to be a tin soldier either, right? But like, none of this like, whoa, I'm such a great musician stuff. So I'm moving, look at how musical I am. And also, just be polite, pleasant, and accommodating, okay? In the audition, don't be overly like kiss ass, and don't be like, you know, a sheep either, right? Just be polite and positive and accommodating and responsive to what the committee asks of you. Simple. So if you're to this point and then you go out and you wait and you find out you advanced, like, congratulations. That means they like how you play. The good news about this is, like, it should be less stressful now, right? Some people advance and then they get more stressed. So like, oh my God, I advanced, oh my God, oh my God. You don't have to go out there and audition wondering if they like the way you play. They've already said they did. They want to hear it again. So don't get more stress if you advance. Be like, rejoice that they liked it, and just go give them more of what you just did with the same musicianship and beauty of sound and, you know, competency. And then if you didn't advance, you know, don't take it personally. Well, all your preparation for the audition, you've been in control of most of the variables, right? I mean, you've been in control of when you sleep and eat and practice and all this stuff. You've been in complete control of that. But when you get to the audition day, there's variables that are out of your control, and you've got to submit to that. You can't get upset about that. You can't control it, right? And those things can be, I've got some examples here, okay? One example is maybe the guy who drew number one played the most amazing round ever. And when that happens in an audition, it makes it really hard for other really good players to get through. That's just how it happens. I mean, I've been in situations like that where I happen, like some real amazing player in the field, right? They draw number one and they go in and they kill it. They just play their ass off. It just makes it hard for everyone else to get through because the committee's already got, well, we don't need to advance so many other people because we got this guy, and, like, you know, maybe we got another 2 days of auditions that we can let some more people through, but we don't need to be so picky today, right? This happens, okay? That's a variable you can't control, so don't worry about that. Your sound or approach could maybe just be not a good fit for their sound concept. Fair enough, right? Fair enough, this happens also. Your style, your articulation, whatever. I mean, if they didn't ask you to do something different in the audition, then they probably already had an overwhelming feeling that it's just not a good fit for them. That's just the way it goes, right? They reserve the right to have an opinion about what they want something to sound like, right? So that's part of the process. Another thing, honestly, is committee fatigue. Sometimes for big orchestras, there's, you know, 3 days of prelims, okay? And committee fatigue is a factor. I've sat on committees before where there's fatigue, okay? We can't really do anything about that because we want to hear everybody, but, you know, sometimes it just all starts sounding the same, you know, and people just, you know, they lose the horizon, like, from an aviation standpoint. Like, you know, it's just fatigue. We can't help that. And the other thing is maybe they already have enough shortlisted candidates that are qualified for the job. You know, you can't control these variables, so you can't, like, think about this stuff. This is just how it goes, okay? So the remedy for this is eat, drink, shop, and repeat, okay? So, and now you can socialize. If you didn't advance, now you can go meet your buddies in the bar and commiserate and socialize with them. You've just spent, like, all this time, effort, and money you getting ready for this audition, right? You've invested a ton into this, and you got to do something nice for yourself. You know, you know, go have a nice dinner. Go buy, you know, a piece of tech that's going to help you prepare even better for the next audition, or you know, treat yourself to, you know, a nice device or something that will actually help your music, an iPad for your music or whatever, you know. That's what I would do anyway. Maybe you want to buy something else, or a new outfit, whatever you want to buy. Just reward yourself for a job well done, right? And then, you know, take the time you need to grieve. Maybe take a couple days off the horn, right? Because you've been practicing a lot. Take a couple days off. Then regroup, and then try to learn from the experience, right? And then go after the next job. Get the paper out. Go to musicalchairs.info. Find that next opportunity, and get ready for it. And, you know, if you stay at it, and that's where the name of my channel comes in, right? Curiosity, optimism, determination, and abundance, okay? I've been curious about auditions for orchestras, and I stayed curious and optimistic through my audition journey. And like I said, I took 37 auditions. And I stayed determined, and I didn't get discouraged, and or fatally discouraged. I did get discouraged sometimes, right? But I stayed determined. And now I have what I consider to be an amazing job here in Singapore. And I got great colleagues and a beautiful place, I mean, it's like I'm living the dream, because I stayed with the program, So that's my advice to you guys. Please, if you get value from this video, I only ask that you like and subscribe to the channel to help me grow it. I'm really trying to find out what the direction is for this channel. And at my area of expertise is trumpet and symphonic trumpet playing. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos about that. I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope you got value from it. These are the things that worked really well for me. And I wish you guys a great day and good luck on your next audition.